Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm sharing with you 5 cards with the My Monthly Hero kit for May 2019. This is a crafter friendly kit with so many fun elements. I mean, every little craft tool that you could imagine. Well, almost every craft tool. It comes wrapped in with some black and white baker's twine. We'll be using that to create our cards today. But super fun elements. You get paints and glues and a pin cushion and knitting, a ball of yarn with knitting needles, a paint palette. Just a super fun kit. These are your dies. You get 2 or 3 fancy dies. You get like a heart-shaped yarn spool, yarn ball, a knitting needle, and then you get the outline die that will cut that out. Also included is some purple, beautiful, glittery purple embossing powder, which I didn't use today. I kept my cards pretty simple, but it is just stunning. Also, you get I didn't know Hero Arts came out with watermark ink, but I guess they do now. So you get a little mini ink cube of their watermark ink. And then at first glance, I thought this was the purple tape for holding down your dies, but this is purple washi tape. And I used it to hold down my dies. I'm not a huge washi tape fan. Typically I just have it for my envelopes or I secure my dies with it. But you also get 5 mini clothespins, and this is everything in the kit. So we're going to jump in and get started with card number 1. So we're going to start off by stamping the little mini ink bottle that's in the stamp set. I'm going to stamp it 5 times. I'm stamping with Memento ink. I'm going to color in each of these little bottles a different color with my Copic markers. Now I'll only show the coloring of my blue bottle here. Starting off with B06, I'm just doing a little bit of shading, and then I'm going to go in with my B04. Blend that out, and then I'm going to fill it all in with my B01. Each of the bottles I colored the same way with 3 different Copic markers, but next off I'm going to bring in some cool grays, and I realized that I didn't color in my ink bottle top, so we're going to do that real fast. But I'm going to color in the leftover areas here with my C1, and then I'll do a little bit of shading with my C3. Now I colored in a blue bottle, and then a red bottle, a pink bottle, a teal, bluish teal color, and then a red bottle. Already told you that, but an orange bottle also. So not quite a rainbow, but I like the bright colors here. I also stamped and colored in my little ink pens here. I did 2 of them, and I did use the coordinating dies to cut everything out. Okay, this panel here measures 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. Now I'm cutting down a strip of my panel that measures 1.5 inches, and then I'm taking that leftover piece and cutting it in half, so I have 2 1-inch pieces. One of them has stitch lines on the bottom, so that's going to be my bottom piece. So what I'm going to do is add some foam squares behind each one of my bottles, and then I'm going to line them up on that very bottom piece. I'm going to start off with the blue, and then I added the pink, the teal, the red, and then the orange. Okay, once we have this done, I left the caps popped out a little bit. I thought that would be a nice little effect. Now I wanted to add some color behind the inks. So I'm going to mark the center of my lids on the second 1-inch piece that goes right above it. Next I'm taking some post-it tape. I'm taking 3 of them, stacking them together, and then using my scissors I'm going to cut out basically a triangle. So I have a triangle at the very top. This is going to be a mask that I'm going to use to create some color in my background. Now using my pencil mark as a guide, in the very top edge of my post-it tape, I'm centering so the very bottom point of my triangle matches up with that pencil line. This way I have, it'll be nice and even, and I'm going to do different colors for each one of my pencil marks. So just using my finger daubers here, I'm starting off with Salty Ocean and just coloring in that triangle, and then it's going to look like we're going to create a banner, but I kind of have something else in mind. Okay, I'm going to skip the second pencil mark and go to the third, only because I know with the post-it tape, sometimes the ink will transfer. So I didn't think it would be that big of a deal if I transferred some of that Salty Ocean to my Evergreen Bow, which is the color I just used. Okay, I'm going to grab another piece of Post-it tape, and then I'll do my second one here. Second one was my pink ink bottle, so I'm going to bring in some picked raspberry, and these are all little mini Distress ink cubes. And then for this color, I'm going to use a red. Now, I think if you had candied apple, it'd be perfect, but I didn't have candy apple in my mini ink cubes, so I'm using fired brick. So it's a little bit more of an orangey red, but I think it worked out. And then for my final color, I'm going to use my last mask, and I'm going to color it in with some spice marmalade. So basically the colors are coordinating with my little ink bottles. And when I remove it, it looks like a little pennant banner here. But when you add the bottles, it looks like the paint is right behind there. Okay, now we're going to stamp our sentiment. I'm going to stamp it on the very top piece. And I chose the sentiment that says, do what you love. I love this sentiment. That's my motto. Do what you love and love what you do. I'm going to stamp that with my VersaFine ONYX black ink. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add our pens. I'm going to go ahead and pop up this one here with a very thin strip of foam tape, and then this one here I'm going to use my Nouveau Deluxe adhesive, and we're going to glue that directly to this top panel. We're just kind of going to crisscross them a little bit. Okay, I think that looks great. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to flip over the top and very bottom pieces, and I'm going to add foam tape behind it. But we're not going to add foam tape behind our colorful strip there. I'm going to carefully, I'm not going to press down on my foam tape just yet because I want to position my panel back together basically. But the top and bottom are going to be popped up, but that middle section we're going to directly adhere on the inside. So I want to go ahead and add some tape runner behind this piece, tuck it behind my ink bottles, and line up those stitch lines on the left and right. And then I'm going to lower the top panel just a little bit to cover my pencil marks. And I think that looks something a little different, but I really like the way it looks. I thought we just needed something else here, so I grabbed the large sequin that's in the stamp set. And then I ended up taking the hearts. There's a small and a medium heart in here. I decided to stamp that right above my pens here. And then just using the same red Copic markers that I used to color in my ink bottle. They are, let me tell you, R59, RV29, and then R14. I'm going to color in my little hearts. Today's cards are honestly just fairly clean and simple, and I kind of went with a rainbow kind of a theme, but I love the outcome. I'm adding a little bit of glossy accents to the lids of my ink jars and also to my little hearts, and that finishes off card number 1. Something a little different. Here's a close-up. Okay, now for card number 2, I colored in and uncut out all of my elements that I wanted to use. There's a lot of small images, and to save time, I colored them in. I have a panel here. It's the same size as the last one, so it's 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. I'm going to add foam adhesive behind all of my little elements, well, most all of them. And I'm going to create a little scene down on the bottom here. I'm just using some very small foam squares to pop these up. I decided to switch the pink for the red because I didn't want my last two colors to be pink and red. I think that kind of looks a little too Christmassy, so I switched it out. For this washi tape, I directly adhered to my panel, but the yellow one, we're going to add some foam squares behind it and pop that up. We're going to add our little glue bottle, which is cute. And honestly, I didn't know what color to color in the glue bottle, so I just used grays and greens. I'm going to add a couple pieces of foam squares behind my scissors. And I love that the die cuts out the handles of the scissors. I think the detail is just wonderful. Okay, we have one more marker here we're going to add. And I'm going to tilt this pink one so it's just a little more balanced after I add this last washi tape here. Okay, I think that looks fun. Nice little cluster of craft supplies. To ground them, I'm taking my C1 marker and just doing a little shading underneath my images. After I have that done, I'm going to go in with my blender pen and just blend out the harsh edges so it looks a little bit cloudy. Okay, now we're going to stamp our sentiment. I take a piece of white cardstock and I stamp the sentiment that says "Make stuff, be happy." I'm going to tape the envelope and my card together, kind of wonky, and then using one of my mini clothespins, I'm going to attach my little set to my sentiment. I thought that'd be really cute. I'm going to double up on the foam tape only because that clothespin is a little bit bulky. Once I had that done, I also fishtailed the left side here, you can see. Now I added my sentiment. I'm going to use my tape runner and add adhesive behind here, and I was just about ready to adhere it, and I thought it was just a little too plain in the background. So I'm taking a 3/4 inch piece of striped diagonal paper, black and white. I just added it to the very top, trimmed off the excess, and then now I'm going to go ahead and adhere my panel. And just that little bit of the black and white I think really made it stand out. I went ahead and added my two little hearts that I colored in. I colored those in with some pink markers. And then now we're going to add a little sparkle. I'm using some Nuvo glitter drops. This is a silver moon dust. And then I'll go in with my glossy accents here. And then I'm going to go over the hearts, even the one on my little card, and also the very tips of the pens, and then my little glue label and the glue top also. I was going to add the black and white baker's twine underneath my mini paper clip, but it was just too bulky, so I ended up skipping that part. But here it is. Okay, for my next card, this one is so easy, but I think it's just so fun. Okay, I'm taking a piece of black cardstock. I used a stitched rectangle die to cut out a panel that was 2.5 inches by 3 3/4 inches. I went over it with my anti-static powder tool, and then I'm inking up the sentiment here that says "Sending Crafty Hugs." I'm going to stamp that towards the very top, and then I'm going to bring in my white embossing powder and just go over my sentiment. Using my heat gun, I'm going to go ahead and melt this. I also took a piece of the black and white stripe paper. That measures 1.5 inches wide. I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down the center of my card base. And all my card bases today, guys, are 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch standard size. Okay, after we have our pattern paper adhered, I'm going to wipe off all of my anti-static powder tool stuff, and we're going to add some foam tape behind here. And this is going to go directly in the center. For this card, we're making a landscape style card. Okay, now we have all these little rolls of washi tape that I stamped and colored in, and I think I did the rainbow with these. First I thought I could use my tape runner and adhere them together um, just with my tape runner, but when I was adhering them together, they kept, when I went to switch colors, they kept popping off on my finger. So I thought that's not a very good idea. So I just cut out a strip of white cardstock, and I'm going to layer them all together on the white cardstock. And I didn't want to go in a rainbow color. I kind of wanted to go a little bit different than a rainbow. But I'm just making sure they're evenly spaced. And when I got done with this, I thought the pattern, it looked so cool. I think it looked so neat. It looked like one of those storage tools that you keep your washi tape on. I was happy with the outcome. I'm going to add a piece of foam tape behind here, and this is going to go right below my sentiment. And now I did fluff up the ends of my washi tape, so they're kind of curled a little bit, and I just think it looks super neat. Okay, the washi tape rolls had little polka dots. I'm filling in those polka dots with my white gel pen, just for a little added detail. And we're going to call this card done. Super easy, but I think I like that washi tape. Never thought I'd say that, but I like it. Okay, now for my final card today, I'm going to stamp the sentiment here. No, actually, this is card number 4. I stamped the sentiment that says, you make this world a beautiful place. What a lovely sentiment. I think that's so nice. I colored in 5 of the paint tubes, and again, almost a rainbow of color. And then I did color in the painter's palette. I think that's what these are called. I'm going to add this right above my sentiment using foam squares. And then I wanted to place my paint bottles almost all around, almost like a half circle around my palette here. I also colored in the paintbrush. That's going to go on the little palette there. And then I colored in 2 hearts, the red, and I'm going to place them right above the palette for a little bit of balance. I think simple, but I think it was so cute. Okay, I'm going to add some foam tape behind this panel. And I don't know if I mentioned the size of the panel, but it's the same as the first 2. It's 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. But I'm going to put this in the middle of my card base. And then I wanted to bring in some black and white, so I thought we'd use this baker's twine. It's really nice and sturdy baker's twine. I really like it. I'm going to leave the tails a little bit long. I like them hanging down a bit. And then now we're going to add some sparkle with some Nuvo glitter drops. This is White Blizzard. I'm going to go over the paint that's on my little palette here. I'm going to go over the hearts. And those little lines that are on each one of my paint bottles, I'm going to cover with glitter also. And that finishes off that card. Okay, now for my final card today, there were a lot of elements in the stamp set that you could create a teacher card. So I have an apple die in my stash, and I created it. If you like this die, I'll link it down below if I can find it. I've had it for a while, but it creates a real cute apple. I die cut out a circle with black and white striped paper, and then I colored in 4 rulers. Before we adhere those, I'm going to use the outline die of the knitted heart and cut out just a solid heart with vellum. And then I thought we would add a couple of the rulers on this vellum piece. One of them we're going to tuck underneath the heart directly on our pattern paper here. And then for this last one, we're going to go horizontal, kind of crisscrossing them. Lovely. My girls are officially out of school. So summer is here. It seems like the months are getting shorter, or the school year is getting shorter and shorter, but we're putting them to work. Okay. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Next, I'm going to add some foam tape behind my little vellum heart and my apple. just so you can't see it. And then I'm going to pop up, I covered up most of my heart, but I think you can still see it behind that apple. Now we're going to stamp the sentiment. It says, "Thanks for being awesome." I'm going to trim off the top here and kind of block it off. I'm going to I'm going to double up on my foam squares off on the right side, and then use my tape runner on the left side. This way, when I overlap on my apple, everything's nice and even. And then I also stamped and colored in and die cut out my little pencil here, which is cute, my number 2 pencil. And then I did my little pencil sharpener in the shavings also. We'll pop that up and place that right underneath our pencil. I think they look so cute. Fun little teacher card. Okay, taking this panel, we're going to put it on a card base. This panel is 4 inches by 5 1/4. I don't think I mentioned that. Okay, in the stamp set there's a little itty bitty paper clip. And for some reason I fell in love with this little paper clip, and I thought we're going to put it to use here. Kind of as an afterthought. But I'm going to stamp it twice on my circle here. And I thought we'll do one more towards the bottom. And then I thought we'll stamp one right next to the sentiment, which didn't stamp very well, so I ended up stamping it one more time. And when I did this, I got ink all over the place, so I just used my sand eraser and tried to get most of that up. Okay, that finishes off that card. I didn't add any bells or whistles. I thought there was a lot going on, but that's my teacher card. So here's a look at all 5 cards that I made with my monthly hero kit. You know what? I'm not sure if kits are still available. If they are, I'll have the link down below if you guys want to check it out. But this is a super fun kit. I had so much fun with it. So many possibilities, and I hope this gives you some different ideas on how to use it. I wish you a lovely day, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. We will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.